Hello, everyone, and welcome to the Computing's Open Day session. The outline for this session is we have a main presentation from Michael Crabb, who will be presenting our computing degree. We will have a look at the research that we are doing in computing at Dundee, followed by a virtual tour of our facilities. Then we will also have some students who will be sharing their experience with us, with you. And finally, we will have normally a 10-15 minutes at the end of the session for free questions and answers. You can also ask questions during the session, and we will reply as soon as we can, either by text or by audio. So we will now move to the first talk, which is the presentation of our computing degree by Michael Crabb.
Hello, my name is Dr. Michael Crabb. On behalf of everyone here, I'd want to welcome you to this presentation where we're going to be talking a little bit about computing at the University of Dundee. I'll explain a little bit about our degree programmes, what sort of subjects you'd cover inside of these, what our graduates from these degree programmes actually go on to end up doing when they leave university, and also what kind of activities they get up to at university as well, and how our student societies help to make sure that they're having one of the most enjoyable experiences that they can. Before we get started with that, I want to give you a little bit of information about myself and the different types of things that I do in my role at the University of Dundee. So my official title is the Computing Learning and Teaching Lead at UOD. What this really means is that it's my responsibility to make sure that you as potential students have the best time possible when you're here. This involves making sure that the day-to-day activities that you take part in are enjoyable, that the activities that you're taking part in inside of modules are at a level where they'll be able to help you in the job market afterwards, and also making sure that every single part of your experience at Dundee is something that you'll remember and want to share with others. On top of that, I'm also an active researcher. So I do a lot of research looking at immersive technology, augmented reality, virtual reality, and also accessibility, and trying to make sure that the technology that we normally take for granted can be used by every single member of society. A little bit about my background. Before I was a member of staff at the University of Dundee, I actually worked as a research scientist at BBC R&D for a while, and I got my PhD in Dundee, right in the building that you'll probably be in, back in 2014, and I also got my undergrad degree in Dundee back in 2010. So I've grown up with this place, and the fact that I'm still here shows how much I've enjoyed it and how much I've loved it. Dundee itself is a fairly good place to be whenever you're trying to decide on a university that you want to be part of. Dundee University has actually been really successful in making sure that we have one of the best student experiences around in terms of universities. We managed to get University of the Year for student experience, and that's from the Times and Sunday Times. Computing at Dundee is actually rated number 11 in the UK for the overall student satisfaction for computing courses. And this takes into account all of the different computing science departments in every single university across the UK. So by taking part in a degree in computing at Dundee, you can ensure that you are having one of the best educations and one of the best student experiences that's available inside of the UK market today. On top of that, we've also been told that we're the best place to live in Scotland by the Sunday Times, and we received the Staycation Award of the Year from iStaycation. And my favourite, of course, is that Dundee is the home to over 15 different ice cream shops. And if you do the numbers, it means that that's one ice cream shop per 10,000 people. I'm fairly sure we could put that number up, but in the meantime, that gives you 15 really good places to visit when you're up in Dundee next time you're here. So why is Dundee someplace that you might actually want to visit? And why is it someplace that you might want to study? Well, our university mission is to try and transform lives locally, globally, through the creation, sharing and application of knowledge. And this is something, if you look at the history of Dundee as a city, that we've been able to do for many, many years. And it's not just something that's linked to the university. This is something that's within the culture of Dundee as a place to be. People from Dundee have invented really famous things: postage stamps, aspirin, keyhole surgery, LCD technologies, and of course, everyone's favourite Grand Theft Auto, all created inside of Dundee. So it really is an incredible place to be. So why do I work in Dundee? Why is it someplace that I've enjoyed so much that I've decided to do my undergraduate, postgraduate, and now professional career working here? Well, There's lots of things to do. The technology scene in Dundee is growing every single year. If you just think about all of the different places that exist inside of Dundee that you could visit to find out about interesting technology. We are the home of cash registers. NCR is still a very, very large part of Dundee. We're also growing our reputation worldwide as a place for games technology and for life-changing technologies, all developed inside of Dundee and our universities here. Dundee University campus has a real community feel as well. Our campus is quite unique in that every single building is within walking distance of the city centre. We've got that campus type of atmosphere that you'd expect from somewhere that's out of town, but we're also really close to all of the hustle and bustle that exists inside of Dundee itself. On top of that, the community in Dundee, especially in computing, is small enough that we have such a really good community feel. Students and staff work together in events. It isn't just a case of students do things and staff do things. We work together in trying to make sure that all of the activities that we're doing are fun and enjoyable. We do shared tech meetups where we get companies to come along and tell us about all the interesting things that they're doing. We do hackathons, where we work together on trying to complete very difficult coding challenges over 24 hours, and we take part in worldwide coding competitions like Advent of Code and Google HashCloud. All of these things really put Dundee apart as a place where you'd want to come and study and learn about what it's like to be a computing professional. And we really do work on problems that change people's lives, and we have fun at the same time. So, computing at Dundee is based inside of this building here, this one here, there we go. This is the Queen Mother building. Every single part of computing is really based inside of this, and this is your home throughout your degree. All of our staff have offices inside of this building, and it acts as a central hub. It's very easy to find on campus. It's right outside or right beside the Students' Union, and we've got a really nice piece of grass outside it for any time that it is sunny enough to go outside and have a picnic. Everyone inside of computing loves this building. All of our student labs are on the ground floor. There's lots of space for you to work independently or also to work part of teams. And all of our research groups are based on floors 1 and 2. And it's our research that really sets us apart. And because you are so close to the research that's going on, you actually get to play an active part in it. So this is where we are. But back to why I work in Dundee. Well, one of the main reasons is that we get to do cool things that matter. At this point, I thought it would be worthwhile passing on my contact information. It's something I forgot to do at the start. If you do want to get in touch with me, my email address is mzcrabb@dundee.ac.uk. And I'm also fairly active on Twitter, but it's mostly just a picture of cats and food. So feel free to follow me on that as well. But yes, we do like to do cool things that matter. And this isn't just me that says this. The entire Dundee community believes this mission statement, and it's something that we really work towards. And it's this community that really binds Dundee together. Every single person that we come into contact with, every single member of staff, every single student is part of this community. And we really work hard to make sure that every single person has the best possible time that they have when they come to Dundee to study. So, core members of our community are really our research leaders. What sets us apart is that even though we are a small UK university in terms of computing, our research output is still world leading. And this is led by our research leaders. I'll introduce you to a few of these just now. We've got Professor Chris Reid. Professor Reid leads our Augmentation research group, and they work with global organisations to try and figure out how artificial intelligence can help to change the world for the better. We've got Professor Manuel Trucco, who designs systems to allow computers to recognise diseases from an early stage. Professor Trucco and Professor Stephen McKenna work together on trying to understand how machine vision technologies can be used to improve people's lives. And this improving of people's lives is something that is continuous through all of our research leaders. Professor Anu Waller, OBE, uses technology to help people to understand how they can have a voice in the world. So people that aren't able to communicate verbally can use technology to communicate. And she works with people to try and understand how complex communication needs can be helped by using technology. So all of our research leaders are core to our work at Dundee, and all of them play a really important part in making sure that our degree programmes are relevant for you as potential undergrads. What I'm going to do now is explain a little bit about our degrees, a little bit about what they actually do and how you can take part in them. Our main degree, and one that we really focus on, is our degree in computing science. Every single degree that we do focuses on having 6 subjects that you do each year. You do 3 of these subjects in semester 1, which runs from September through to December, and 3 of these subjects in semester 2, which runs from January through until early May. In first year, we cover subjects like an introduction to software development and introduction to data structures and algorithms. With this, what we're doing is we're trying to teach you the basics of programming structure, and we're using Java as the platform that we use to do this. We supplement this with a module in web programming where we teach you HTML, CSS. We also teach you JavaScript, web libraries, and how you can use CSS frameworks to create interesting web applications that people would want to use. We then have modules in mathematics so that you can get that core understanding of mathematical principles, which are really key to becoming a successful computing scientist. And then finally, we can give you the option of either studying a module of argumentation, which is where we can begin to understand how arguments are formed and how this can start to play a part in artificial intelligence, or we can do a module in physical computing. And this gives you the opportunity to start to develop physical digital systems. So a combination of electronics, design, creativity, and computing. And all of these subjects together create a really well-rounded first year, and it gives you the opportunity to learn more about the peers that you're going to be working with, all of your colleagues in your class, and also to work really closely with core members of our academic team. Into second year, it's very much the same. We're building on all of these skills that you've learned, but we're also taking them to another level. We're including modules in object-oriented analysis and design. And this has given you an opportunity to start to understand more about why things are designed in a certain way. We expand on the things we've done previously with argumentation and start to look at things like algorithms and artificial intelligence and how AI can play a role in society and how you can help shape that role by becoming experts in artificial intelligence themselves. We then continue work within mathematics and looking at topics within pure mathematics, and we continue our work looking at developing the skills that you need to be a successful computing scientist by giving you the opportunity to understand and develop your skills in Java by looking at multi-paradigm programming and data structures. On top of that, we've got two additional modules in Computing Systems 2A and 2B, where we begin to let you explore what it's like to work with a variety of different computing systems. And this is looking at not just Windows and Mac, but also looking at the technologies that exist behind the scenes in these and how you can actually develop these. And technology development is something that is so important now. One of the things that we always get asked by students is, so if I come to university, what am I going to learn? What am I going to become a specialist in? And unfortunately, the computing degrees within the entire of the UK and in fact worldwide, and the computing profession is changing. It's very difficult for people to become a specialist in just one specific thing. And we've recognised that. And now we're introducing a number of different opportunities for people to learn different concepts and platforms. So if you come to Dundee, you aren't just going to study HTML and CSS when you do web programming. You're going to be exposed to HTML, CSS, PHP, and then more contemporary web stacks such as Angular, Node, and Express. You aren't just going to be exposed to services and platform programming for Windows. We're also going to expose you to Android programming, to programming for Linux type interfaces, for Java, and for a variety of .NET languages as well. You aren't just going to learn about traditional database structures using relational databases within something like MySQL. We're also going to introduce you to non-relational databases that are used in platforms such as Facebook and Google, and we'll be using things like MongoDB and Cassandra to do this. And on top of this, we aren't just going to let you free to do all of this. We're going to provide you with the skills to be able to understand how teams of people fit together. We're going to be using platforms like GitHub, AWS, and Agile technologies as a way to get you to understand more about how you can work as part of a highly functioning web development team. So how you can work with others and fit in well to any company that you decide to work with afterwards. And this is really core to what we're trying to do. We aren't just developing you to be a successful computing scientist. We want you to be ready to work after you leave university. And this is something that we've been focusing on recently in trying to create industry-ready graduates. The University of Dundee is an accredited member of AWS Academy, which means that we can give you the opportunities to learn about cloud computing and to learn how you can develop cloud infrastructures as part of our degree programs and in extracurricular activities. You're also going to be taught by campus experts from GitHub. This will give you the opportunity to learn how you can collaboratively code with others and share that code with others throughout the world. You're going to be taught project management by people that are certified Scrum Masters, people that are a very deep understanding in how you can work well in a team and how you can understand how to work well with others around you. And you're also going to be taught project management by people that have worked as part of the Project Management Institute. So you can understand to go from a tiny, small program through to something that will involve 7,000 to 8,000 people working on it at a single point in time. And we can give you the skills to understand how all of these things fit together. We wouldn't be able to do all of these things though just by ourselves. And like I've said before, our community within computing is the staff and also the students. And the computing student community at Dundee is a long-running and growing active enterprise. We would have all been aware that over the last year, things have been slightly challenging in terms of kind of moving forward. Our student society have gone above and beyond to make sure that students at Dundee have an incredible experience and feel part of a growing and well-fed community. This is a list of all of the different activities that our community took part in last year, and all of the different activities that the Dundee University Computing Society, or DUCS as they're called, ran for our students. You can see here that there's a combination of quiz nights, drop-in sessions for people that are having trouble with coding, masterclasses in things like Unity, Photoshop, movie nights, and we also ran a large number of other activities like our famous is it called the Quackathon? It is. Quackathon, which is a hackathon based with our DUCS Society, and also other things like our Hashcode events, where we're working with Google and we're working with other universities across the world as part of major coding competitions. So the computing community really is central to being a student here, and it gives you the opportunity to learn all about the different people that you're going to be working with in your classes, and also to figure out how you can actually learn to work with other people outside of this as well. So you might be asking, well, so what? So where can computing take me? If I come to do a degree at Dundee, where am I going to end up? Well, like I've said, computing is changing. It's no longer at a stage where if you are a graduate from computing, you'd get a technology job in the technology sector. Technology is everywhere now. It's more than likely that you can get a technology job in any sector. Like I said at the start of this presentation, I'm actually a graduate from Dundee myself. So when I was trying to figure out what are some really great examples of people that have done a degree at Dundee and then went on to do amazing things, I looked at my own cohort of students that I worked with and tried to figure out what they're doing now. And I'd like to go through some examples with you so that you can get a little bit of an understanding in where computing can actually take you. So these 5 people are all people that are part of my class when I was doing my undergraduate degree. First, we've got Morag. So Morag took part in one of our degrees, and she now works as a project manager. Morag decided really early on that as much as she loved computing, she loved people more and loved working with people. She went on to work as a project manager, now lives across in New Zealand, working for Pivot Software. Scott Smith is one of my best friends. I've actually known Scott since I was maybe 4 years old. Scott's a senior software engineer at JP Morgan. He completed his degree here, went on to work for Thales Engineering through in Glasgow, and then recently moved across to JP Morgan, where he works as part of their team, leading other computing scientists in cloud computing. Hayley McMinn actually lives quite close to me. She lives in Forfar and works as part of DRAMS. So DRAMS is a spirit management solution for distillers. So distillation in whisky is obviously a growing industry within technology, and part of that growth is seen in technology. Hayley's job is to look at how this technology can work and how she can actually work with distillers to make sure that technology can help them to create the best things possible. Callum McMinn is another student that was part of our cohort. He actually works in games design. So Callum works in Dundee with Ninja Kiwi, where he creates amazing games. And then finally, we've got Chris Brett. So Chris Brett probably has one of the coolest jobs I've heard of. He's head of robotics at Arcadio Technology. So Chris finished his degree in Dundee and then moved down to England and started working for Arcadio pretty much straight away. He's worked his way up and is now head of robotics and is in charge of creating the systems and technology that can be used to pick food for people before it's sent out to them. So computing can really take you anywhere. You could be a project manager. You could be a leader of cloud computing, helping people to develop banking services for the future. You could work as part of the spirits industry. creating technology that can help people to enjoy drinks in a new and interesting way. You could be a games designer, or you could even become involved in robotics. The possibilities for computing really are endless, and it's up to you to decide where you want your path to be for this. Our job is really to make sure that we can support you along the way with this, and that you can have as much fun while you're here as possible. So, like I said at the start, here's my contact details. Please feel free to get in touch. I'm always more than happy to talk about computing and about what it's like to be a student at Dundee. And if you have any questions about what it's like here or anything else, then please feel free to get in touch. So my email address is mzcrabb@dundee.ac.uk. And again, thank you very much for listening to this, and I hope that you enjoy the rest of your open day experience today.
Okay, that was the main presentation of our degree in computing. I'm going to come back to one of the questions we had in chat. So the question was about the balance between individual work and group work in coursework. It's very dependent on modules, because there are some modules which are typically more suited for group work. For example, the Agile module, Agile being a way of managing group projects inside the development cycle. So obviously, with kind of modules, it's very hard to do individual work there. But we also have other modules where individual works are predominant. So overall, between both, I would say we have a good balance. There is probably about half of the assessments which is individual and half which is group assessment. So just looking if we have new questions. Doesn't seem so. So we're now moving into our research group presentations. So there are 4 of them, and I will let them present themselves.
The UXD group is just one part of a major focus on human-centered computing here at Dundee. There are 3 of us in the UXD group. There's Mike, Rachel, and myself, Daniel. And between us, we do a lot of stuff under this big umbrella of user experience, including new applications of virtual and augmented reality, making sure that the user experience is accessible and inclusive, and broadly how people interact with their technologies in everyday life. And our research at UXD combines all 3 of these in different ways. And of course, as a computing student at Dundee, there are opportunities to get involved, and every year we have a range of projects we offer to students who go on to do some brilliant things. For example, Virtual Virtuoso was a VR application developed by one student as an interactive environment for novice music creators to experiment with different sounds by moving virtual boxes around in different ways. Bright Lights is a game developed by another student that's been used to study how surrounding brightness has an impact on the level of contrast needed for a clear user interface. Mixed reality was also used by a group of Dundee computing students who worked with the School of Medicine to use the Microsoft HoloLens to help teach medical students about anatomy. And they even started their own spin-out company. So in UXD, we have a focus on understanding and improving accessibility in technology, and we're working on projects to make everything from emojis to escape rooms more inclusive. And even in presentations like this, we have to think carefully about the visual challenges of different individuals. The poor contrast makes things much harder for us all, as do difficult fonts, or using colour schemes known to be troublesome for colourblind individuals, making text and images too small, or just trying too hard. The point is that creating an accessible, enjoyable user experience benefits us all. And that's what we're here for at UXD, and we hope you'll get involved. Thanks for listening.
Hello. After this very fast-paced introduction by my colleagues from User Experience and Accessibility, now something a little bit slower. My name is Rolf Black. I'm a rehabilitation engineer, and with Professor Anna-Lou Waller, you met her earlier today, we are researching into assistive technology that helps people with complex disabilities to take part in life to their full potential. You probably wonder why I have music instruments and a robot behind me here for my work. Now, we're trying to borrow from lots of different areas of life for our technology, and one of the technologies, a switch, is actually used by musicians at the moment to change the pages of their music when they play, for instance, the violin and don't have the hands free. And that similar technology Professor Stephen Hawking used to communicate. He had a switch similar to this one at his cheek, which allowed him to interact with the computer. Now, this made it incredibly slow. When I speak to you, I speak at about 120 words, 130 words per minute. When he used to communicate, he spoke at 2 words per minute. So there's a lot of work still to do, and we are working with, from children to adults, everyone, to make this faster. And we have the unique opportunity here in Dundee to have a user centre, people with complex disabilities who work with us on a daily basis, help in the teaching and research. So one of the things we delivered and we developed was this interface for children in school. One of the big things when you learn about language is to talk about your experiences. So this system allowed children to talk about the days at school using stories the computer had come up with automatically, using sensor data that determined where they were in school and who they were working with. Now, we're not just using switches, we have more advanced technology as well, like this eye tracker here, that allows you to interact with the computer just using your eye gaze. We even have glasses that have incorporated this technology. So by looking around, you can interact with your technology, and we need you to build the software. I'm here for any questions after this video, or just send me an email. I hope I've intrigued you a little bit. Thank you very much.
The Centre for Argument Technology has a track record of more than 20 years, developing foundational theory in philosophy and linguistics, and translating it into artificial intelligence systems that ultimately power the applications that we deliver to end users, helping them to understand arguments and debates, helping them to better contribute to those arguments and debates, helping them to succeed with their own arguments more often, and helping them to make better decisions based on higher quality evidence gathering and reasoning. Our software is used in domains as varied as law, intelligence analysis, and e-democracy, as well as going out to broad audiences of the general public. In total, we have over 100,000 users of our software in 80 countries, and in a decade-long partnership with the BBC, we have also helped audiences gain new insights into debates on radio and television, and have helped school children across the UK identify fake news. We were amongst the first labs in the world to tackle the task of argument mining, that's the automatic recognition of reasoning in discourse. And following partnership with IBM, we are now leaders in this research area that is enjoying an explosion of interest. Our tools for argument analysis are amongst the most widely used, and we curate the largest data sets of analysed argumentative discourse currently available. We are the only lab in the world equipped with hardware and software to be able to analyse debates in real time, and our infrastructure is the result of a 10-year research effort that we spearheaded to develop an international standard for argument representation in AI. ArgTech is the largest research centre in the world focusing on argument technology, and our research projects and partners span the globe and help us deliver high-impact, cutting-edge solutions that make a real difference to people's lives.
We will now have a virtual tour of the facilities that the discipline of computing is using at the University of Dundee. And that's inside the Queen Mother building, which is one of the most recent buildings of the university. It was opened in 2006, and it's a very nice piece of architecture, as you can see, which has been made especially for the needs of computing. It's also very well situated on the campus. So the Queen Mother building is here, and very close by, you have a lot of very interesting things from the university. You have the Dalhousie building, which is the building that you have here, where a lot of teaching activities like workshops, tutorials are happening. You also have the library, which is this building here. That's a very nice building again, where you have a lot of facilities. You can rest there also. There is rest areas and a lot of place for studying. You also have an inquiry center, that's the small dot here, just in front of our building. And that's a very important place for students, especially in first year, because whenever you have something in the university, a service that you need to access and you don't know where or how to access that service, then you can go to the inquiry center and they will be able to orientate you and tell you where you have to go and who you should be talking to. You also have in the rest of the building here in front of the Queen Mother building, the Students Association of the university, so that's the Dundee University Students Association, which is running a bunch of bars, and they're also offering one of the best discotheques of the university, so very good to be close by. Finally, as you can see, we have a very nice green area here, and just next to the building, you have one of the biggest residences of the university. So we are very well situated on campus. So now let's enter the building itself from the main entrance, and we will go on right to a place that we call the street. So the street area is a place where you can rest, but also very suitable for group work because you have a bunch of tables where you can plug computers and just do group work, which is very important because we do have a lot of coursework in computing which are group work. From the street, you can also access the user center, which is a place that the accessibility research group is using to interact with people who have special needs on computing to assess how they use the technology and can improve their access to it. On the other side of the building, you can find the labs where students can access more than 100 computers equipped with a lot of software which are relevant for the industry nowadays. And some of them are not available on other university managed computers, such as the one of the library. So the labs is a very important space for our students where they can really access all the relevant software for our degree, from web development to game engine, passing through virtual machines, database, and alternative operating systems such as Linux, and all this on computers which are renewed very frequently. We also have a bunch of other hardware equipment, for example, virtual reality equipment. And finally, we can dig a bit in the electronic with this room where you can access low-level hardware. The other floor of the building are used primarily for research purpose. So that's where you would find a PhD student jailed until they finish their thesis, but also the offices of teaching staff and other researchers from computing. And that will conclude our virtual tour of the Queen Mother building. So I forgot one of the research groups, so I'm going back very quickly on the last research group that we have. And computer vision is a research field where we look at extracting information from images or other related to source data. And you have an example of this here where I can replace my background, for example, to be in a spaceship. I love that for meetings. And that's possible thanks to computer vision, which is able to provide algorithms to detect where I am and where is the background in the images and remove. But that's not the kind of computer vision that we are doing at Dundee. So let's see at what we do. So we have a bunch of researchers which are looking at how to apply computer vision to healthcare. And you have a typical example here with the Vampire project, which looks at retinal images and try to extract information from them, such as the blood vessel that you have at the bottom here. And from this, we can automatically try to extract even more advanced information, such as is there signs of vascular disease or diabetes in those images. We can also extract information that are useful to other research groups in Dundee. So for example, egocentric vision using a camera which is attached to a person can determine where that person is in a building, what they are doing, and information that can be useful for the accessibility group, for example. And we also have a 3D vision. So you have here an example of an honors project where the students was working on parallelizing an algorithms which is making 3D reconstructions of objects from a sequence of images. So every year we have some students who are doing their honors project with us in the computer vision group, being on healthcare or other type of research. And we are definitely hoping that you will join us in 4 years.
Hi, my name is Andres.
So that was the virtual tour and the research group talks. And we are now going to have a few students sharing with us their experience here at Dundee. So I will let Andres speak first, and then we will have Vincent.
Hi, my name is Andres. I'm a 4th year computer science student at the University of Dundee. And I thought it would be a good idea to create this short video in case I could help anyone thinking about applying to the same program at this university. So one of the main concerns usually people have, and I had 3 years back, it was if the university and its lecturers were using the correct teaching approach. And in this case, I would say that Dundee has done a very good job, because most of the modules are being taught in a very practical way, and they usually explain the underlying concepts that will help you understand the topics and related fields of any path that you might want to specialize in, which is extremely important for the future. And from my personal opinion, I would say that the modules that I've enjoyed the most were networks and data communications, and also physical computing, not only because the topics they were covering were extremely interesting, but also the projects that we had to do to pass these modules were actually extremely interesting. And they were also big team projects that implied a lot of coordination between people, and we also learned a lot, not only applying the concepts that we had lectures on during the semester, but also coordinating between people, which is a very important skill that you might need in the future. So apart from that, I would say that as an international student, something I really value a lot is social life. The family that you get at university are your friends. You're not going to be close to your relatives while you're overseas. So having good people around you is extremely important. And I would say that Dundee has an extremely good social life with the best student association in Scotland. You can be sure that you will never run out of plans or people to meet. And having such a nice campus located at the city centre makes everything so comfortable and close by, which is also quite important. And lastly, but also something quite important, at least from my point of view, it's professional prospects. In this case, I'll talk about me. I am currently interning at an American cybersecurity company with offices in Edinburgh. My work is focused around dynamic authorization and authentication via APIs. So I'm mostly working on backend, but also in software infrastructure and design. So after a semester of applications, going through interviews and code challenges, I can say that I was feeling more than prepared after the modules I've taken. I felt that going through these 3 years of uni helped me a lot in this process, and I was lucky enough to get 2 offers. So I could say that uni was quite successful in helping me throughout this process. So if you're looking for a university for computer science, you're looking for a place which is vibrant and competitive, I can definitely say that Dundee is a very solid option. So good luck.
Okay, we are now going to have Vincent with us, who will be live for a short interview where he will be also sharing his experience with us. So Vincent, you can speak now, I guess. You can unmute yourself.
Hello there.
Yeah.
Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, seems fine. So I'm going to put you live. Okay. So I'm going to ask you two questions, and the first one will be, what do you think of the labs that you have access to in Dundee? Have you used them? I know that you can access them remotely also. Have you tried it? And what do you think of overall the facilities that we are providing?
So the labs that Dundee offer are excellent. So we have we have set sessions aside with our tutors that allow us to come in and do the coursework and do all the lab work that we've been assigned, and everything that we need to do for lab work is set up on these on the lab machines, so we don't have to do anything that requires us to install anything on our own stuff to do these labs, which is really nice. So if you're stuck, you don't have to go through the myriad of trying to make it work. As well, me along with some of the other cohort students, we will sit on the other side of the lab with our own systems. That's a really nice thing that Dundee has, where if we don't want to use the lab machines, there's still a lot of room for us to sit and work. So in terms of labs, they are really nice, really spacious, so we can there's always somewhere for you to sit down and work.
And about the coursework that you are doing in the lab, can you tell us about one of the coursework that you have particularly liked? What did you like in that coursework, and what did you enjoy?
So one of the main courseworks that I'm looking back at would be in first year, for applied computing, computer science, we had this module called Creative Interactions, where we had a cross-discipline module where we're doing with some other students from around the university, and that was the best lab that I've seen so far, as it's given us the ability to work with other disciplines that we don't work with. Computer science, unlike the rest of the science departments at Dundee, has its own building, so it allows us to do these other tasks, and it's really fun to work with other people to create the task. And the lab itself was, we had to create this kind of installation, this little piece that took in information from the outside world, and we can display it and have it interact. So it wasn't just using software to work with it. So that's the nicest lab I've had so far, and that was with one of the first year modules.
Okay. Thanks, Vincent, for sharing your experience with us. I will go back to my presentation now. So we are reaching the end of this session. We have about 10 minutes left. If people have questions, that we can take live and give you answers. So I'm just waiting a bit for potential questions. And in the meantime, I'm going to leave you with a presentation, which is from the Women in STEM Society, because quite a few times we have students, female students, who are wondering whether they would find a great ambience in Dundee. So let them tell about it.
Ways to get involved with our society. So firstly, I recommend check out our website and join our Discord community, where you can find all kind of information that you might need. You can find information about our events, and our members also constantly share various opportunities that you can take up on. And lastly, I would say just keep an eye out on our social media, so you find out when you can become a full member of our society.
Friendships are really important for the society, so we encourage them in lots of different ways, such as an online community on Discord. There's a book club. There will be lots of nights out, game nights, movie nights, everything, on top of a sorority. So that's where older and younger students can come together in families, do really fun stuff, and bond in ways that they probably wouldn't get to otherwise.
And there we go. So let's see if we have some final questions for these sessions. I don't see any, so I will just give you questions if you have any else. That will be the conclusion of this session. So I hope that you had all the information that you wanted here. If not, you can always either contact Mike or any others through the Open Days form. Feel free to ask anything that you. And hopefully, if not, we will see you next year.